What a delight it is to bring you yet another investor roundtable from Equity.Guru. I am Rob, and over yonder is Vishal. We'll talk to him in a second. Hey, he's waving. He's very nice. Down below there is Galen with the Chrome Dome and the headset.
Yep.
And of course, Chris in the opposing corner with the fresh coif. Today it's Valeo Pharma with their CEO Steve Saviak, Quebecois. And Galen, what do you want to tell us? We talked about these guys about a month ago. What are we doing now?
Well, basically, just a quick history on them to get everything started. They're a Canadian company, of course. Specialty pharma is their game. They launched in 2003 and focused on some products in dermatology, I think, and hospital specialty. And then in 2014, sold the whole shebang to Valiant Pharmaceuticals, which is, an accomplishment in and of itself. And now they're focused on bringing products that have already reached commercial stage or have gone past the majority of testing and are just ready essentially to be, well, I wouldn't say rubber stamped, but brought from another country's jurisdiction into the Canadian healthcare system. So allowing investors and the company to benefit from the fact that they don't have to jump into development or clinical trials and stuff to get this stuff off the ground. They merely have to do the paperwork and ensure compliance is in place. And it's really kind of a turnkey operation. They have everything top to bottom, from bringing the products in to actually getting them out into the market. And at this point, basically what they're doing is they're focusing on respiratory diseases, neurology, oncology, and other assorted specialty products. I think these guys are, well, they're savvy.
Yeah,
Steve
yeah.
Saviak is savvy. He's got himself into a good game. Specialty pharma has a lot of like orphan drug designations and such. So there's IP lock-ins, there's licensing exclusivities that are stronger when compared to doing something that is not necessarily a specialty drug, which is an orphan drug. So they're really building. Actually, they've raised about $37 million in funding. They're pushing forward. They've got stuff on the market already. They're groomed to grow, basically.
Well, oddly enough, Savvy, that would be the CEO's sports nickname. Steve's Saviak would be Savvy. It is VPH on the Canadian exchange. Vishal, go to you next. VPH, and if you happen to have an American count, if you're down in the US, it's VPHIF on the OTC, over the counter. But what about VPH?
Yeah, VPH. So just before we look at the charts, I just want to highlight this part as well. Revenue stream, their asthma therapy products are the ones that's the big seller. And I want to mention this just came out on September 22nd, so just a couple of weeks ago. Record revenues for Valeo, record revenues of 5.7 million for quarter 3 2021, up 280% over quarter 3 2020 and 114% over prior quarter. Record gross margin of $2.2 million, record 9 months revenue, and yeah, a lot more good news with their drug products, including Redesca and a whole bunch of other drugs here. As I said, the asthma therapy are the ones that seem to be bringing in most of the profit here. We should also mention that the site looks different. It's a whole new revamp here. Chart-wise, bit of a disclaimer, I did end up buying some shares yesterday because I did see this breakout here on the chart. I remember last time we looked at it, it looked like something like that. And we were talking about this resistance area at 81 cents. Played around for a bit, fell back down, and we sort of made what's called a cup and handle. I mean, it's not textbook, but you have your little cup here, you have your little handle here, and we had that breakout yesterday. I like that breakout. Technically, it looks like it's ready to go. We've had good revenues, so that's really good news. The volume was actually quite nice as well. If I remember, it was around 300,000 shares traded and always six-figure shares traded, so that's good to see. What I would be watching for now, though, is with all these sub $1 stocks, the $1 zone it's a very big, important psychological number. So I would like to see how Valeo, reacts when it hits $1, and that's upcoming. So in the next few days or weeks, let's see if we can get a nice push above the $1 zone, which again, a very important psychological zone. And I think the market would like a breach over $1. But to be honest, this break here above 81 cents, I like that. And as I said, I did pick up, I did nibble in some shares yesterday. So,
Chris, likey, lovey, whatty?
Well, a month ago we said this is a good one, and we pointed people to it and said, I believe we spent some of your money, Rob, getting in there at around what was it, about 70 cents. And here it goes at the end of the month. It's started to accelerate. It's gone on a bit of a rip. I don't know that I see in the news reasons for the rip. This just looks like someone is amassing however much they can get without alerting people that they're getting into it. But there's not that much for sale. So someone is amassing Valeo Pharma. Take their direction and do the same thing. I would suggest might be the thing that you'd think to yourself. Look, we've been saying for a long time, Canadian biotech is the place to be. The people will eventually get on. The old PDAC crowd and VRIC crowd, the Cambridge House guys, they don't normally look at this stuff so much. They're into the old schooly companies. This is the reason that Bombardier can still exist in the world. But the younger crowd, as they get in to the investing scene, biotech is not foreign to them. And they see the amount of money that is in healthcare and think that good, smart run companies that can bring dollars in the door are a good place to be. You don't necessarily have to be at the thin edge of the wedge, the early stage. We hope we can get through the FDA side of biotech. You can look for guys that have track records that are demonstrating themselves every week. And Valeo is one of those companies.
So in our hypothetical from our last time visiting the company, I made 2K. I dropped about 10,000 shares in our investor roundtable hypotheticals, and at about it cost me $7,000. Now I'm up to 9, and I'm planning on sitting tight here and see where this takes us. So now here's the question for all three of you, and we'll go around the horn. Start in first base with let's see, would you be first base? Yeah, I guess you would. It'd be kind of Galen, yes. Are you adding more cash? Am I going for another 10,000 shares at 9B?
Well, see, the funny thing is, or the good thing is, as Chris stated before, biotech in Canada is a very interesting space. It's kind of like the sleeper hit. It's not got the sexiness, which is good because it's based on just performance for the most part, unless you're into the whole development scene. This company really does have its crap together. It's not only savvy, it's sassy. And I think at this point, we're based for growth. We're going to see a lot of stuff happen over the next 6 months with this company. And honestly, I would probably dump another $5,000 in it. Let her ride, man. Let's go.
Wow. Are we going there, Vishal?
I was actually going to say I would do the same thing. I would top it at 5K. Heck, I would even call TK and ask for a loan from him because he's been dropping 5K on a lot of stocks as well. But, as Galen said, well established and having revenue come in. Record revenue is always good. As Chris mentioned, there is someone buying up shares here. We have a technical breakout. A lot of good stuff here. So I think you ride that momentum.
Chris, complete sweep?
I'd be surprised if the buyer is finished buying. I don't see them giving the stock a chance to drop before they buy their next day's worth of allocation. So anyone who's selling for a reasonable price, and apparently a reasonable price is, heading towards a 50% markup, they're taking it. So I think that realistically, if you've got a little spare cash, you've already made some, you can ride this horse until it falls, or you can keep adding horsepower. And I think maybe this is still under $1, a good price to be adding more horsepower for mine. When a stock goes up that hard, you do worry that short sellers might come in and try and play against the irrational paranoia of the market. I don't think that the short sellers are on this yet. If it gets up to $1.50, you might have some downward pressure or some people taking profits. But we're still under the point where this thing was back in March, and it's got a lot more going for it now than it did back then. So I'm all positive.
I should
Another
also
Equity
say
Guru win.
it's up 6.9%, man. You don't really see that too much. Nice.
Well, I'll tell you what, this is a beautiful, quick little refresher in under 11 minutes on the Investor Roundtable for a company we did a month ago, and has bounced, as Chris pointed out. Had you listened to us then, as the words have often been.
I'm not going to say it was us that made it happen. I'm just going to say,
well, no,
it wasn't us that didn't make it happen.
Right.
We call the bottom. We call that bottoming.
Let's just put it this way. It was an accurate assessment. We can't, of course, always guarantee that, because past results do not guarantee future performance. And that includes not just the market, but also all of these guys. But you know what? Pretty good stuff, I would say. Pretty good stuff. Do your own research and do your own investing. And we'll see you next time. This has been Valeo. It is indeed. And it is VPH on the Canadian Exchange. We'll see you next time on the Equity Guru Investor Roundtable.